Chapter 3173 Mo Guohao was dumbfounded. Chapter 3173 Mo Guohao was dumbfounded. 3173 Mo Guohao was dumbfounded. Inconceivable. Meridian exploration pill originated from the last era of civilization. To say nothing of predecessors, it had been passed down for more than 100 years, but no one had ever been able to improve it in the slightest. However, Ling Han had only refined it once, and after tasting it once, he already had a direction of how to improve it. Just how terrifying was this? Why do I feel that? Because this is the lowest grade of alchemical pill, and that's why it's so easy to improve. Ling Han frowned slightly. There was no need to mention the people of this era, because they had only advanced into martial arts for less than 100 years, and had just begun. However, since the civilization of the last era could create so many pill recipes, formations, and contained the glorious era of martial arts, it meant that it was already a mature system. In such a mature environment, how could it be that no one could improve the pill recipe? It was very simple. Ling Han could easily sense what was wrong with the alchemical pill, and if it was too strong, or too weak, he would need to add more or decrease some of the corresponding medicinal ingredients. But why did the ancients not discover anything? Could it be that after he had condensed the essence of the divine stone, his alchemy ability had reached a chilling extent? Or perhaps, Ling Han guessed, this was too worthless in the civilization of the last era, and that was why there was no smarter alchemist studying this problem to increase the effects of the alchemical pill. Which one was it? It was possible that it was both. On the one hand, Ling Han's ability in alchemy was too strong, and on the other, the Meridian exploration pill was perhaps really not much in the civilization of the last era, so no one had spent the effort to modify it. Forget about it. My priority now is to earn money. The modified Meridian exploration pill should be able to bring me more income. The mystical power pill could only speed up one's cultivation. Whether there was one or not was only a matter of speed of cultivation. However, the effects of the Meridian exploration pill had been improved, yet they could allow those who initially could only stop at 10 meridians to reach 11 meridians, and people at 7 meridians would be able to reach 8 meridians. The significance of this was completely different. Ling Han would concoct 3 cauldrons of mystical power pills every day. Then, in addition to cultivating, he would focus his attention on improving the Meridian exploration pill. Having a direction was one matter, but as for how to improve it, this was a meticulous process. It could not possibly succeed in a single stroke. However, it was only 4 days, and Ling Han had already completed it. The effects have increased to 20%. Originally, the Meridian exploration pill could give a martial artist a 10% chance of sensing a new meridian, but now, it had reached 20%. Even if it was only an additional 10% chance, it might give half of the majority a chance of advancing into a higher cultivation level. The significance of this was completely different. When Pan Hu came again at night, Ling Han handed him 2 bottles of alchemical pills. Young Master Han, what's this bottle? Pan Hu was curious. You can just hand it over to Boss Missouri, Ling Han said. Understood. Pan Hu nodded, paused, then continued. Does young Master Han have any other commands? These few days he had acted like he was a servant, so his attitude could not be more humble. Go on. Ling Han waved him off. However, after only over an hour, Mo Guohao arrived with Pan Hu by his side. Ling Han knew that the Meridian exploration pill would give Mo Guohao a great shock, but the fact that he immediately ran over in person was somewhat beyond Ling Han's expectations. Young friend, you are really good at scaring people. I am only 46 years old this year, but I am about to have a heart attack because of you, Mo Guohao said. Though he was joking, his expression still could not hide his shock. How could he not be shocked? Ling Han took the pill recipe with him. It had only been 5 days, but not only had he completely grasped the pill recipe and concocted alchemical pills, he had also improved the pill recipe and concocted new pills. Taking a step forwards with every passing day, how could this not scare him to death? Though he was a middle-level alchemist, In front of such a freakish alchemist, he felt extremely insignificant, as if he could vaguely see an alchemy grandmaster. Ling Han chuckled and said, "It's just an increase of 10%. It's nothing." This was still considered nothing? And Mo Guohao sighed and said, "Young friend, do you know what this means? Using the new version of Mystical Power Pill and Meridian Exploration Pill together can increase the overall strength of our army by at least 10 times. This is a great merit." Ling Han chuckled. "I just want to earn some money." "This has nothing to do with earning money," Mo Guohao said with a smile. "I plan to auction off the Meridian Exploration Pill. Only then would it be able to show the best effects. Do you agree?" "Sure." Ling Han nodded. Actually, if he opened his own store, the profits would definitely be higher, but that would be too troublesome. He had to cultivate martial arts and also concoct alchemical pills and formations, so where would he get so much time? Thus, he didn't mind letting others earn a little, so that he could free up his hands to do what he wanted. "The time is set to be 3 days later." And Mo Guohao continued, "How about it?" Previously, though he thought very highly of Ling Han, he still had the pride of a middle-level alchemist. It was only because Ling Han was an important business partner that he appeared very polite. However, now, he really considered Ling Han to be an existence of the same level, or even in fact, slightly higher than himself. Even if Ling Han was only an elementary-level alchemist now, just because he could improve on those 2 pill recipes, it was not impossible that the Alchemist Society of the Imperial Capital would make an exception and promote him to become a senior-level alchemist. In fact, it was not impossible that he would even be bestowed the title of Honorary Grand Master. Before he knew it, Mo Guohao had already put away his airs. In fact, it could even be said that he was showing respect. "All right." Ling Han nodded. When Pan Hu saw this, he couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. Young Master Han was really too awesome, that even his uncle was respectful in front of him. He was really too wise, and managed to change his attitude in the nick of time. Otherwise, not only would he not be able to ride on Ling Han's coattail, he would even have offended an incredibly terrifying existence. And Mo Guohao and Pan Hu quickly left, while Ling Han practiced spiritual power for a while longer. This was really too difficult to improve. There was no cultivation technique, nor was there any treasured fruit. He could only depend on himself to improve bit by bit, which was really slow. Ling Han used the optical computer to connect to the online platform again. He wanted to see if there were any special treasures that could quickly increase his spiritual power. In the end, he was disappointed. He saw that a great many people had posted information asking for offers, wanting a treasured fruit called Amazing Cloud Fruit. This could increase one's spiritual power. At a glance, they were all asking to buy, but no one had reached a deal. Of course, these requests naturally came from formation masters and alchemists. The others didn't need to increase their spiritual power. He took a look. The amazing cloud fruit was produced in the Yudu Mountains, but this kind of treasured fruit was rare, and secondly, it grew in extremely dangerous places. The difficulty of harvesting it was like ascending the heavens, so there had always been no lack of buyers but a serious lack of sellers. At first, Ling Han wanted to put up a request for purchase as well, but looking at how others would easily offer a high price of over 1 million, if he did not put up a higher price, he would not be able to compete at all, and if he wanted to put up a request for purchase, he would need an advance payment. If he did not reach a deal, the advance payment would be directly refunded to him. He still couldn't take out a few million Dark North coins now, so he could only give up on this idea. Work hard on concocting alchemical pills to earn money. Chapter 3174 Cutting the Line. Chapter 3174 Cutting the Line. 3174 Cutting the Line. In 3 days' time, Ling Han had concocted a total of 29 cauldrons of improved Meridian exploration pills, which almost tired him to death. Since his cultivation level had reached a certain level, he had never been so tired from alchemy. However, he was also very satisfied, because he now had about 90 Meridian exploration pills in his possession. This could probably bring him millions in income. It was really too easy for alchemists to earn money. Even formation masters couldn't compare. Because the staff of Mercy Medicine Hall were all very busy today, and even a second-generation young master like Pan who had to entertain profligate young masters, so he didn't come to pick Ling Han up. Ling Han didn't mind. It wasn't like he didn't have arms and legs, so how could he not go himself? He brought his little female attendant with him, and called for a car. Very soon, they arrived at Mercy Medicine Hall. Goodness! He looked through the window, and couldn't help but hiss. There were really a lot of people here today. The entrance was completely crowded with cars, and people were continuously disembarking. It should be known that these were only people who had gotten off the cars. After getting off, the cars would naturally leave, but even so, it was still on such a large scale. This was really a little exaggerated. Speaking of which, was the Meridian exploration pill that attractive? After quite a while, the car slowly arrived at the entrance, but before it had even stopped, a car suddenly cut in from behind, and stopped in front of them. The car that Ling Han was in had to stop. When the person on the car in front of him got off and the car drove off, only then would his car be able to continue forwards. Cutting into the queue of people, no, cutting into the queue of cars? Ling Han was instantly enraged. Everyone was obediently lining up, and you're the only one who doesn't abide by the rules. DDD. The driver of Ling Han's car honked. He was also very displeased. A man and woman alighted from the car ahead of them. They were both very young. The man looked like the absolutely arrogant and snobbish type, while the woman was extremely beautiful and coquettish. After this man got out of the car, he walked over and kicked Ling Han's car. Pa! The headlight of the car was instantly crushed by his stomp. Motherfucker, what the fuck are you honking the horn for? Are you trying to kill me with your noise? The man continued to curse as he kicked the other headlight. The driver hurriedly alighted and asked, "Why did you smash my car? So what if I smash it?" The man was very arrogant. He pointed at the driver and said, "Do you know who I am? Fuck, you actually dare point at my nose. I think you're tired of living." He raised his hand and was just about to hit the driver, which scared the latter so much that he hurriedly ducked into the car. The man continued to curse, and the coquettish woman beside him also wore a haughty expression as she said, "To dare anger our young master Ming, you're truly seeking death." The car in front of them drove off, but the man still felt like he had not vented his anger enough. He continued to kick Ling Han's car endlessly. Ling Han alighted from the car. Huan Shui hurriedly opened the door and came down as well, standing beside Ling Han. Someone actually dares to come down?" The man looked at Ling Han, but soon turned his gaze away, and stared at Huan Shui. I didn't expect there to be a little beauty." Huan Shui couldn't be considered an exquisite beauty, but she was still above average. Ling Han beckoned with his hand, and said, "Come here." The man faltered, then was amused, and said, "You idiot, you actually dare to call me over? Who are you? Do you think you are the city lord?" However, even though he said this, he still walked over and said, "What's wrong? Do you still dare to hit me?" He moved one side of his face closer. "Come on then, give it a try." "Huan Shui," Ling Han said. "Yes, young master," Huan Shui hurriedly replied. "Slap him." "Yes." Huan Shui naturally carried out Ling Han's command without any reservations. She raised her hand and slapped the man heavily. How could the man have imagined that Huan Shui would really dare to make a move? He had also positioned himself as if he was ready to take a slap, so it was naturally impossible for him to dodge. This slap caused stars to appear in front of his eyes. It should be known that Huan Shui had now advanced further, and possessed the cultivation level of 7 meridians. How could such a massive force be pleasant to the face? Fortunately, Huan Shui didn't use her full strength. Otherwise, his face would have been smashed into mush. "Why you dare to hit me?" The man faltered for a moment before revealing a furious expression. He also directed a slap at Huan Shui. Huan Shui dodged, then counterattacked. She was a 7 meridians, while that man was only a 6 meridians. Thus, after a few moves, Huan Shui was completely on the upper hand. Then she slapped the man's face like she was spanking someone's behind. Pa pa pa, a crisp and loud sound rang out. What are you doing, you crazy woman? Let go of young Master Ming! The coquettish woman screamed. However, she wasn't a cultivator, so she could only yell from the sidelines. Isn't this Zhong Yangbi's younger brother, Zhong Yangming? Someone at the side asked. Though he is not much, his older brother, Zhong Yangbi, is quite extraordinary. He has already become an elementary-level alchemist at only 27 years old, and is renowned for being the second Mo Guohao. And Zhong Yangbi is really quite extraordinary. He is one of the most popular figures of the younger generation. He, together with Yan Jun and Tuoba Tianhuang, are known as the 3 elites, representing alchemy, formations, and the most outstanding talent in martial arts. However, to be honest, it is fortunate that Zhong Yangbi and Yan Jun are representatives of alchemy and formations. Otherwise, if it was martial arts, who would be able to match Tuoba Tianhuang? Indeed, Tuoba Tianhuang is a prodigy that would only appear once in 100 years in martial arts. In future, he would become an overlord that would look down on the rest of the world. He is definitely not someone that Zhong Yangbi and Yan Jun can compare to. We're getting off the topic. We're talking about Zhong Yangming now. Him? Just an idiot. However, to bully Zhong Yangbi's younger brother like this, isn't he afraid that Zhong Yangbi would be angered? That's right. Today is the auction hosted by Zhong Yangbi's master, Grandmaster Mo Guohao. He will definitely attend as well. If Zhong Yangbi finds out that he beat Zhong Yangming here, Zhong Yangbi will definitely not let the matter go. The people in the surroundings were all discussing spiritedly. The majority liked to join in on the excitement, and the scene that was happening now was obviously very much in line with the mentality of those watching the excitement. Did you hear that? Zhong Yangming roared. My brother is Zhong Yangbi, and my brother's master is Mo Guohao, Grandmaster Mo. If you anger me, I guarantee that you won't be able to buy an alchemical pill in Hujiu City. Ling Han merely chuckled, and acted as if he had not heard. Pa, Huan Shui gave him a heavy slap. He actually dared to shout at her young master. Humph! Enough! Ling Han waved his hand, and Huan Shui immediately stopped. What's going on? Why are you making so much noise? A man walked out, an impatient expression on his face. Didn't he know that today was a big day for the Mercy Medicine Hall? Young master who? Brother who? Everyone called out, appearing very polite. This was Pan Hu. Though he was an idiot, he was Mo Guohao's nephew. It should be known that a few days ago, Mo Guohao had unveiled a modified version of the mystical power pill, and now there was a modified version of the Meridian exploration pill being auctioned. Even the city lord had been alerted. He had expressed several times that this modification of Mo Guohao was a great merit, and could be recorded in the history books, becoming a pillar of support for the nation. With the rise of the tide, Pan Hu also became extremely popular. Brother Hu! Zhong Yangming pounced over with an aggrieved expression. Chapter 3175 Brother Hu. Chapter 3175 Brother Hu. 3175 Brother Hu. What is it? When Pan Hu saw this, he asked calmly. Both he and Zhong Yangming were ignorant and incompetent second-generation young masters. However, in comparison, his status was much higher, so he naturally became Zhong Yangming's boss. Brother Hu, I was bullied, you have to stand up for me. Zhong Yangming grabbed one of Pan Hu's arms, like a child who had been wronged, asking for help from his parents. Pan Hu couldn't help but show a proud expression and said, I really want to see which blind guy dares to bully my people. With the introduction of the modified version of the mystical power pill, whether it was the popularity of the Mercy Medicine Hall or Mo Guohao's personal reputation, they had all been raised to a new height, especially with the modified version of the Meridian exploration pill, which made Mo Guohao seem practically like an alchemy legend. Even the city lord praised him endlessly. Under such circumstances, as Mo Guohao's nephew, Pan Hu's status naturally rose accordingly. His opinion of himself was really soaring, and his whole person was also puffed up. Someone was bullying his underling? Humph, just see how he would deal with the other. Brother Hu, it's them! Zhong Yangming pointed at Ling Han and Huan Shui. Huh! Fuck! When Pan Hu saw Ling Han, he felt a chill rise up from the soles of his feet, almost causing him to pass out in fright. This was Ling Han. Others might not know, but how could he not know? Whether it was the modified version of the mystical power pill or the Meridian exploration pill, they were all provided by Ling Han. It was all because of Ling Han that his status had been able to soar madly in the last few days. To say nothing else, he still remembered the last time he offended Ling Han and was forced to kneel in public, which saved him from being punished by Mo Guohao. Had he not suffered enough? Had he not learned his lesson? If he offended Ling Han again, it was not impossible that Mo Guohao would beat him to death. Brat, now that my boss is here, are you afraid? Zhong Yangming strutted around and even rushed over, pointing a finger at Ling Han. If it weren't for the fact that he was still wary of Huan Shui, his finger would probably be poking at Ling Han. Ling Han smiled. Hee hee, I'm afraid, of course I'm afraid. It's good that you know to be afraid. Kneel down! Zhong Yangming said proudly, regaining his usual arrogant demeanor. When he saw that Ling Han had no reaction, he couldn't help but urge. I told you to kneel, didn't you hear? Could it be that you want our brother Hu to tell you? Sure, Ling Han said. He looked towards Pan Hu and asked, Brother Hu, what do you say? Zhong Yangming also turned around. He was sure that Pan Hu would definitely fly into a thunderous rage and teach Ling Han a harsh lesson. Sure enough, Pan Hu walked over aggressively. And, what a great amount of anger! Zhong Yangming was slightly shocked. He had not thought that he was actually so important to Pan Hu. Otherwise, why would Pan Hu be so furious? He was getting closer and closer, and Pan Hu had already raised one hand high before slapping it down. Wasn't this slap a little too early? Pa! A crisp sound reverberated in all directions. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. What was going on? Had Pan Hu gone mad, or was there something very seriously wrong with his eyes? He actually delivered a slap right onto Zhong Yangming's face? Brother Hu, you hit the wrong person. That Biat Stard is behind me. Zhong Yangming covered his face with one hand and said with an aggrieved expression. I didn't make a mistake, and I'm beating you up, Biat Stard. Pan Hu roared in fury. Pa pa pa. He rained down blows on Zhong Yangming, and he started to beat him up madly. You Biat Stard, do you know who Ling Han is? Are you trying to fucking kill me? Just see if I won't beat you to death? Zhong Yangming was completely stupefied. What had happened? Previously, he had been madly slapped by a woman, and now, he was being beaten harshly by Pan Hu. He didn't seem to have done anything extremely evil that would deserve this. Brother Hu! Brother Hu! What did I do wrong? Why did you hit me? He felt extremely aggrieved. Biat Stard. When Pan Hu heard this, he was naturally even more enraged. You almost killed me, do you know that? Do you know who young Master Han is? He roared in fury. Young Master Han? Zhong Yangming was taken aback, his brain completely unable to process what had happened. Who was young Master Han? No matter what, there was no way he could connect young Master Han with Ling Han. How was this possible? He had naturally seen all of Brother Hu's friends, and this guy wasn't among them. Pun pun pun. After a series of blows, Pan Hu forced Zhong Yangming to kneel in front of Ling Han, and said, Hurry up and kowtow and apologize to young Master Han. What young Master Han was this young man in front of him? Zhong Yangming finally understood why Pan Hu had hit him. He couldn't help but feel shocked. A person that even Brother Hu had to address as, young master, what kind of background did he have? Who knows, a few words from him may be enough to decide his life or death. He finally knew fear, and said in a trembling voice, Young Master Han, I was wrong. Kowtow! Pan Hu actually kicked him. Fuck, Even he had kowtowed a dozen overtimes on the streets back then. Could it be that he would be able to bluff his way out just like that? Zhong Yangming had no choice but to kowtow. Only then did Ling Han say calmly, "You don't have to kowtow to me, but to this driver." He pointed at the driver that was still hiding inside the car. Zhong Yangming revealed an obvious look of resistance. He could bear it if he was kowtowing towards young Master Han. After all, even brother who would have to address him as young master, but this driver? Fuck, if he had to apologize to a lowly driver, would he still be able to survive in the future? Pa! His hesitation was immediately followed by a slap from Pan Hu. Young Master Han told you to apologize, yet you still dare to hesitate. Do you believe that I'll thrash you to death? Pan Hu said in a vicious tone. In order to gain Ling Han's favor, he really dared to commit murder. Zhong Yangming finally became afraid. That cannibalistic expression on Pan Hu's face was definitely not an act. He said to the driver, Sorry. The driver was filled with fear and trepidation. By now, he naturally knew who Zhong Yangming was. Being apologized to like this, would this cause a calamity to him in future? He was just an ordinary little driver, so how could he afford to trifle with a second-generation young master like Zhong Yangming? Ling Han naturally could tell that the driver was worried, and said calmly, Don't worry. In future, even if you lose a single hair, I will still seek out second young Master Zhong for an accounting. Ah? Zhong Yangming's eyes widened in shock. If he lost even a single strand of his hair, he was going to be called to account. Then he was really too wrong, wasn't he? Oh, if this guy was killed, then he would have to pay with his life as well? Ling Han cracked a smile. You guessed right, that's the logic. What logic? He was absolutely unreasonable. Hearing Ling Han say this, the driver finally felt as if a heavy weight had been lifted from his shoulders. It was good that there was no future trouble. Young masters, I'll take my leave, he said. Wait, Ling Han said with a smile. Don't be anxious. I still haven't paid the fare, and I still haven't paid for the broken lights. No need, the driver hurriedly said. Of course, there is a need. Ling Han looked at Zhong Yangming and said, Whoever breaks it will be responsible for compensation, understand? Zhong Yangming had learned his lesson this time, and hurriedly took out money of his own volition, stuffing a handful of money into the hands of the driver. It's too much. There's no need for so much. The driver was an honest person. Everyone watched in dumbfounded shock. Chapter 3176 3176 Auction. Chapter 3176 3176 Auction. 3176 Auction. Who was this guy? He actually managed to deal with two profligate second-generation young masters until they had become so submissive? The driver left, and order returned to this place. One after another, people disembarked from the cars, but they did not enter. They were all discussing on the sidelines. They wanted to know what great person Ling Han was, that he could actually make Pan Hu treat him with such respect. It definitely isn't Zhong Yangbi. Of course. If that person was Zhong Yangbi, Zhong Yangming wouldn't have come into conflict with him at all. Moreover, Zhong Yangbi wouldn't have been able to suppress Pan Hu like this. Could it be Yan Jun? That doesn't seem to be the case either. Yan Jun is already 24 or 25 years old, right? The age is not right. Furthermore, Yan Jun is also unable to suppress Pan Hu. Then it would have to be Tuoba Tianhuang. That's right. Tuoba Tianhuang is around this age. He's the #1 cultivator of the younger generation, and he'll definitely become an overlord in the future. It's reasonable for Pan Hu to bootlick him like this. But Tuoba Tianhuang is already at 12 Meridians. What is he doing here? That person isn't Tuoba Tianhuang. Tuoba Tianhuang's appearance is extremely unique. His hair isn't tied up, and he's wanton and unrestrained. He's definitely not that person. Furthermore, Pan Hu calls him young Master Han. That's strange. What young man in the city has such might? The son of the city lord? The young master of the top clan, the Yen clan? But neither of their names have the word Han. Everyone was discussing spiritedly, but ultimately, they could not guess Ling Han's identity. In truth, even if someone recognized Ling Han, and said that he was a deputy captain of Xianqing Banner, it was guaranteed that no one would believe him. With Pan Hu leading the way, Ling Han entered the private room that had been prepared for him. As for Zhong Yangming, he couldn't be bothered to deal with him for the moment. He would deal with him when he returned. Fuck, he had almost ruined a matter of such importance for him. He really wanted to strangle this bastard to death. No one paid attention to Zhong Yangming. Occasionally, there would be mocking gazes sweeping over, making him feel extremely indignant. He was really dissatisfied. Most importantly, he didn't even know who Ling Han was. This beating really made him feel sullen. Yangming, what's wrong with you? A deep voice rang out, and behind Zhong Yangming, a lanky man appeared. He looked to be in his late 20s. Brother! Zhong Yangming was overjoyed, and he immediately charged over. This gave Zhong Yangbi a scare. In such a public place, what kind of impropriety would it be for two men to be embracing each other? He stepped aside, not allowing Zhong Yangming to pounce on him head-on. However, one of his legs was still being hugged by Zhong Yangming, making him grit his teeth. This scene was still so beautiful that no one dared to look at it. Let go, he whispered. Brother, you must avenge me. Zhong Yangming had finally found a real great protector after much difficulty, so how could he possibly let go? Seeing this scene, the people in the surroundings all laughed. Zhong Yangbi felt his face burn. He hurriedly pulled his brother up by force. Pa pa pa! They ran into Mercy Medicine Hall. He was Mo Guohao's most outstanding disciple, and his status in the pharmacy was actually even higher than Pan Hu's. He too reserved a private room, and then asked his younger brother about the situation. When Zhong Yangming explained the situation in full detail, Zhong Yangbi's expression couldn't help but become dark. Humph, aside from being arrogant and domineering, what else did a bastard like Pan Hu know? And now, it was even better. He was actually favoring an outsider, and was even bullying one of their own people now. This was practically betrayal. Zhong Yangming was afraid of Pan Hu, but he wasn't. In fact, he even looked down on him very much. Don't worry, I will definitely stand up for you, Zhong Yangbi said. However, the auction was about to begin, so it was not appropriate for him to come into conflict with Pan Hu at this time. Thus, he decided to first wait for the auction to begin. This was something that Mo Guohao valued very much, so he definitely could not allow the slightest mistake. Towards Mo Guohao, he was sincerely impressed. In fact, he admired him from the bottom of his heart. He actually managed to improve the Meridian Exploration Pill and Mystical Power Pills recipe, creating the greatest miracle in the last 100 years of alchemy, benefiting the nation and the people, and may even be summoned by the Emperor in future. Thinking of this sovereign of the Dark North nation, Zhong Yangbi couldn't help but feel even more reverent. That was really a legend, and in the whole country, who didn't treat him like a god. The auction soon began, and the host was actually Mo Guohao himself. Mercy Medicine Hall was a very big place. When it was first established, it was already thought that there might be an auction held in the future, so it had been developed in this direction when designing it. Before this, the Mercy Medicine Hall had already hosted several auctions. However, this was the first time that they had held an auction for a single type of medicine. Everyone welcome! Mo Guohao's face was glowing. Everyone has already seen the information. Today's auction is for the modified Meridian Exploration Pill, which can increase the chances of sensing new meridians to about 20%. I guarantee with my reputation that this is definitely not the slightest bit false. Beneath him, there was a commotion. Everyone had received an invitation from Mercy Medicine Hall, and knew that a modified Meridian Exploration Pill had appeared, which was why they had rushed over. Now, with Mo Guohao personally explaining about it, everyone was naturally extremely excited. This meant that the cultivation level of many people that had already stagnated could improve again. I have a total of 90 Meridian Exploration Pills here. The rules of the auction are as follows. Every 10 pills is a set, and will be auctioned by set. In other words, everyone has 9 chances to win the bid. Fuck. Hearing these words, everyone wanted to curse Mo Guohao and call him an unscrupulous merchant. If they were auctioned off one by one, there would be a total of 90 pills. At least half of them would not be auctioned off for a very high price. After all, there were a lot of them, so they would just wait for the next one. But it was a different story now. There were only a total of 9 sets. They had to give it their all. Mo Guohao smiled brightly. Though he was an alchemist, he was also an outstanding businessman, and maximizing his profits was his pursuit. Then let's begin. The auction began, and it was as if everyone had been pumped full of adrenaline. They immediately placed a crazy bid, as if that was not money, but merely a number. The first set of Meridian exploration pills sold for a high price of 260,000, and the average price for each was 26,000. Meanwhile, the ordinary Meridian exploration pills only sold for 5,000 each. The difference was truly huge. The following auction was still very heated, because there were only 9 sets. It only took an hour, and the 9 sets of Meridian exploration pills were all auctioned off, fetching a total of 2,520,000 Dark North coins. This was a very shocking number. Ling Han believed that if he were to sell them himself, it would be very good if he could get even half the price. That was because Mo Guohao and Mercy Medicine Hall itself were a signboard, and this was intangible value. Of course, there were only a total of 90 Meridian exploration pills. This was also a very important reason. After all, the rarer something was, the more valuable it was. However, Mo Guohao's words at the end almost drove those who had managed to win with their bid mad, and those who had not managed to successfully buy any once more became excited. In the future, every week Mercy Medicine Hall will hold an auction, which includes but is not limited to the modified Meridian exploration pill. Fuck profiteering merchant, what a profiteering merchant. Too deceitful, too black-hearted. Chapter 3177 Complaint. Chapter 3177 3177 Complaint. 3177 Complaint. Young Master Han, I'll bring you to see Uncle, Pan Hu said respectfully. Goodness, in just 3 days' time, young Master Han had concocted 90 Meridian exploration pills, creating such terrifying wealth. In comparison, the pocket money or rather salary he received every month was only 8,000. It was practically too inferior. This was how prodigies were. If they wanted to earn money, they could simply stretch out their hands. He was so awesome that he could only admire him. Ling Han nodded, and with Pan Hu leading the way, went to meet Mo Guohao. They had just arrived at the doors of the study on the 2nd floor, when they saw 2 more people walk over. Zhong Yangbi and Zhong Yangming. Brother, it's them! As the saying went, when enemies met, they would naturally be furious. Zhong Yangming immediately pointed at Ling Han, his expression looking as if he wanted to devour him. Afterwards, he naturally found out that Ling Han was the mastermind. That little beauty was only obeying Ling Han's words. Zhong Yangbi humphed and said, Pan Hu, you have to give me an explanation for this matter. Otherwise, I will report this to my master, and you will definitely be punished. This guy was always neglecting his proper duties and doing all kinds of bad things. He had long since been disliked by Mo Guohao. However, because he was his nephew, he did not chase him away. Thus, every time he mentioned complaining in front of Mo Guohao, Pan Hu would definitely be scared half to death, and immediately beg for mercy. However, he had miscalculated this time. Pan Hu was all smiles and said, What explanation? There's nothing to explain. He had always been suppressed by Zhong Yangbi, and furthermore, because the latter had snitched on him, causing him to be scolded many times by Mo Guohao. How could he not feel angered? Unfortunately, Zhong Yangbi was an alchemy prodigy, and Mo Guohao was extremely fond of him. How could he win over him? He didn't even have the chance to take revenge. But this time was different. Who was Ling Han? Someone that even Mo Guohao had to respect, and you dare to disrespect him? You are seeking death. Pan Hu, it's fine if you commit evil at other times, and for the sake of Master, I can turn a blind eye, but this time, you actually bullied my brother. I definitely can't tolerate you anymore, Zhong Yangbi said balefully. Brother Bai, don't you think you're the one who's doing evil now that you're making malicious accusations without investigating the truth? Pan Hu said with confidence. This was the first time he realized that reasoning could actually be so enjoyable. Zhong Yangbi was taken aback. Since when had this guy become so stubborn? Usually, when had it not been him who only had to wear a solemn expression, and the other party would cower like a dog? Had the sun risen from the west? Pan Hu, are you really going to turn this into a serious matter? His expression darkened. What serious matter? Mo Guohao's voice was heard. Very soon, he walked over, his face full of smiles. He was in an extremely good mood. Master! Zhong Yangbi hurriedly exclaimed, not giving Pan Hu the chance to speak first. I originally didn't want to ruin Master's mood, but Hu Zi has really gone too far this time. Mo Guohao gave an "oh" and asked, What's going on? He knew that this nephew of his was very unreasonable. However, after he had recently gotten together with Ling Han, he had actually changed his habit of leading a life of debauchery, bullying the weak and suppressing the good, which made him very pleased. What was it? It had only been a few days, and he had gone out of control again? He turned to look at Pan Hu, his gaze extremely sharp. However, when he saw Ling Han, his expression immediately softened, and he said, Young friend Ling, I have embarrassed himself in front of you. Pooh! Zhong Yangbi spluttered and coughed uncontrollably. What was going on here? He couldn't understand? Ling Han smiled and said, I think that Pan Hu is honest, young, and promising. Being praised by Ling Han like this, Pan Hu felt his face burn. Fuck, what relation did he have with being honest? His mind was filled with thoughts of women and fun. He was indeed young, but what kind of promising man was he? Mo Guohao was taken aback. Ling Han actually had such a high opinion of Pan Hu? Could it be that he had misjudged this nephew? He turned to look at Zhong Yangbi and asked, How has Hu Zi gone too far? This? Zhong Yangbi hesitated. As long as he wasn't an idiot, he could tell how highly Mo Guohao thought of Ling Han, completely treating him as an equal. If he were to retaliate against Ling Han, the only result would be being harshly reprimanded by Mo Guohao, and then let Pan Hu watch a good show. And nothing, he said. Mo Guohao was astounded. Just now, he had said that he had gone too far, so why was everything all right now? Don't worry about young friend Ling. He's one of us, he said with a chuckle. He thought that Zhong Yangbi was trying to save some face for Pan Hu in front of outsiders. That's right, Brother Bai. What did I do wrong? Tell me, and I will definitely accept humbly, and immediately change. Pan Hu took the chance to hit him when he was down. It was rare for him to have such a rare opportunity, so he naturally could not waste it. Looking at Zhong Yangbi's expression, he was filled with satisfaction. Following Ling Han was the right thing to do. He immediately turned the tables around and was singing the song of freedom. Zhong Yangbi was on the verge of tears. He didn't dare to speak ill of Ling Han now. I'm really fine. I was muddle-headed, he said. This time, he had to swallow this humiliation. Strange. Mo Guohao glanced at this disciple of his, and felt a little suspicious in his heart. However, this suspicion was quickly concealed by his joy, and he said, Young friend Ling, I am really too happy today. He invited Ling Han into the study, and how could Zhong Yangbi have the face to stay any longer? He hurriedly left with his brother. Mo Guohao and Ling Han settled the accounts. For the auction, Mercy Medicine Hall collected 20% as service fee. This was a little high, but taking into account Mo Guohao's part in it, 20% for commission was reasonable. Ling Han nodded. He could still obtain around 2 million. This was already an astonishing amount of wealth. However, young friend, you are really too amazing. It has only been a short few days, and you have already concocted so many Meridian exploration pills. This is really unbelievable. And Mo Guohao sighed ruefully. Even if he went all out, could he concoct so many Meridian exploration pills in 3 to 4 days? Impossible. His success rate was at most 50%. Even if he did not sleep at all these 4 days, there was no way he could complete such a mission. In other words, Ling Han's success rate had to reach 80%, or even higher to be able to accomplish such a magnificent feat. Inconceivable, this was too shocking. Ling Han merely smiled. There was not the slightest bit of difficulty in concocting this kind of low-level alchemical pill. If the cauldron still exploded, would he still be worthy of the title of Alchemy Emperor? Oh, that's right. The city lord should summon you in a few days, so you can make some preparations, Mo Guohao said seriously. After modifying the pill recipes for the Meridian Exploration Pill and the Mystical Power Pill, to say nothing of the city lord, if the Emperor of the Dark North Nation found out, he would probably make an exception and summon Ling Han to see him, because this was extremely likely to have far-reaching consequences. Ling Han didn't mind this, and simply nodded in acknowledgement. Now, though he had to start from the beginning again, how could his proud and aloof heart possibly change? And Mo Guohao's opinion of this young man became gradually higher. Now, he was already so calm and unflustered in the face of honor and favor. This kind of mentality was really rare. His future accomplishments would be limitless. They conversed for a while, and Ling Han left with his little handmaiden. Chapter 3178 Rich Man's Formation. Chapter 3178 Rich Man's Formation. 3178 Rich Man's Formation. Ling Han returned to his residence, switched on the optical computer, and posted an offer to purchase. Request for amazing cloud fruit. Offer price is 2 million Dark North coins. Once this purchase offer was posted, it immediately attracted heated discussions, with many leaving comments below the post. Who would be so unruly and offer such a high price? That's right. Isn't this ruining the market price? Those two above must be jealous because they don't have the money. Who made it a rule that there must be a price restriction for buyers? This one is a real tycoon indeed, let's be friends. However, even if such a high price as 2 million is being offered, it's certain that there still won't be a deal. That's right. In the first place, amazing cloud fruits are rare, and with how difficult it is to harvest, there is absolutely no way to obtain them. There were also a great many people who requested for Ling Han's contact information, saying that they wanted to have a private chat, but Ling Han directly ignored them. All he wanted was the amazing cloud fruit, and he was completely uninterested in anything else. Since he had nothing else to do, he began to look around on the platform again. There are formations like this? The Thousand Clouds formation requires 30,000 jade seeds to be channeled. Once it begins, it can't be stopped. Refining the essence of all the jade seeds and transforming them into extremely dense energy can create an astonishing environment for cultivation. The time needed is only half a day. Ling Han couldn't help but feel tempted. If he really created such formations, just how much would his cultivation level advance? However, this formation was also called a rich man's formation, because if one was not a tycoon, how could he bear to use such an exorbitant amount as 30,000 jade seeds? Trill. The advancement in cultivation level by this half a day must be astonishingly fast, but if compared to the mystical power pill that was of the same value, the final result would definitely be that it would be more worthwhile to consume the mystical power pill. Furthermore, the advancement would not be just 1-fold or 2-fold, but rather 10-fold or 100-fold. The only advantage of this rich man's formation was that it was fast, and suited for speedy advancement. 30,000 jade seeds, or 3 million Dark North coins, is more than my net worth. However, I can give it a try. Ling Han was never stingy when it came to spending money. What was the point of not using the money he earned? He took a look. The principles of this formation were actually very simple. The only requirement was the jade seed, and a great number of jade seeds at that. It could be considered a super spirit gathering formation. I can't afford it now, so I'll just wait a few days. With the help of the modified version of the mystical power pill, Ling Han was confident that he could reach the 11 meridians in 10 days. Then, if this rich man's formation was powerful enough, he would be able to reach the 12 meridians in a short amount of time. Then in the martial arts tournament, he really could ignore anyone. And I'll go and find old geezer Niu tomorrow. On the second day, he went to find Niu Huaqing. You want the 1,000 clouds formation? Even Niu Huaqing, who had commanded the winds and clouds all those years ago and treated money as dirt, was still shocked by Ling Han. This is the rich man's formation. Are you sure you possess the wealth of 3 million? No, Ling Han replied with a shake of his head. Right now, he only had over 2 million. Moreover, he had already paid 2 million in advance, so he would only be able to get it back if there was no deal within the next 3 days. However, he immediately continued, In another 6 days, I'm sure I will. 6 days later, the Mercy Medicine Hall would host the second auction. He was sure that earning 1 million wouldn't be a problem at all. Niu Huaqing looked at Ling Han in disbelief. Was this brat simply boasting? Did you think that money was so easy to earn? Even for him, if he wanted to earn 3 million in a short period of time, he would have to create a high-level formation. Unfortunately, that was in the past. The current him, sigh, let's not talk about it. Do you want to make another bet? Ling Han asked with a smile. Niu Huaqing wanted to agree at once, but after some thought, this brat was indeed freakish. Not only was he a formations prodigy, he was also freakish in alchemy. Previously, hadn't he been taken by surprise and lost a bet? The Meridian exploration pill that Mo Guohao auctioned off yesterday, could it be related to you, brat? He suddenly exclaimed in shock, but after some thought, he shook his head. Impossible, this is a great dilemma that has troubled alchemy for 100 years. If you can solve it so soon after you come, that would be too inconceivable. Ling Han faltered for a moment. The old geezer was quite capable of making connections, but he wasn't bold enough. I'm leaving, he said. He had already found the method to create the 1,000 clouds formation. The other problem was how to get 30,000 jade seeds. Hey, where on earth are you going to get so much money from, brat? Niu Huaqing asked curiously. He was sure that Ling Han definitely didn't just want to learn this formation technique. Ling Han didn't reply, and simply waved his hand. Every day, he would concoct some meridian exploration pills and mystical power pills. Then, he would continue cultivating, pushing his cultivation level to advance towards 11 meridians. 2 days later, no one accepted the purchase offer that he had posted. The advance payment was automatically returned. Another 4 days later, Mercy Medicine Hall held the second auction. This time, there were even fewer meridian exploration pills. There were only 50, and yet they were auctioned off for a high price of 30,000 per pill. The total price was 1.5 million. Ling Han obtained another million in wealth all of a sudden. He went to buy the jade seeds. It was easy to pay. He only had to press his finger, and once the fingerprint was matched successfully, the money would automatically be transferred away. There was absolutely no need for him to bring cash with him, but to transport the 30,000 jade seeds back, he would need the shop to send out a car and deliver it. Now, everything was already prepared, and all that was left was for him to break through to 11 meridians. Soon. At most, it would take another 2 days. However, on the same day, he was summoned by the city lord, and made a trip. Feng Zixing, the city lord of Huju City, looked to be only in his 40s, his whole body exuding an astonishing vitality, as if he was a fierce beast that could burst out with astonishing power with a single move. He praised Ling Han for a while, but did not say anything specific. The time for an audience with him was even shorter than 5 minutes. After that, he had Ling Han return. What is the cultivation level of this Feng Zixing? Standing in front of him, I feel completely suppressed. It shouldn't be blood transformation tier, but rather a cultivation level above the blood transformation tier. However, no one has ever told me what cultivation level is above the blood transformation tier. Ling Han returned home. He decided to set aside these things first. What he had to do now was charge towards the 11 meridians, then the 12 meridians, and then the blood transformation tier. No matter where he was, strength was the true way to go, the true foundation, and everything that mattered. 2 days later, Ling Han had already reached the peak stage of 10 meridians. I can now attempt to break through to 11 meridians. Ling Han went to sense the 11th meridian. He didn't need the help of the meridian exploration pill at all, and he quickly sensed it. Then, he guided heaven and earth's mystical power to charge at it, opening the meridian in a single strike. However, when the sun rose, the time that was suitable for cultivating had already passed. Activate the rich man's formation. Ling Han set up the 1,000 clouds formation. The 30,000 jade seeds were divided into 10 piles, and they were all like small mountains, looking extremely majestic. Come on! He used his spiritual power to stimulate the formations. Instantly, the 10 piles of jade seeds lit up. Then, one after another, the jade seeds shattered. A soft jade light rose, turning into some kind of mysterious power that surged towards Ling Han. Boom! Ling Han felt his body tremble, and an incredibly deep power surged over madly. He hurriedly channeled the brother monkey cultivation technique to absorb as much power as possible. Otherwise, if it overflowed out of the formations, it would be a complete waste. Chapter 3179 Kneeling Firmly. Chapter 3179 Kneeling Firmly. 3179 Kneeling Firmly. Boom! The 11th meridian was presently widening like crazy. The power that surged in was really too shocking. It washed over and over again through Ling Han's meridians, removing the impurities, making them even wider. There was no time limit. As long as the formation was still channeling, this kind of power would be endless. The 30,000 jade seeds seemed to be burning, releasing their essence, turning into endless energy to feed Ling Han. 11 meridians middle stage, late stage, peak stage. The speed of advancement was astonishingly fast. However, he had more or less exhausted the pile of jade seeds. It was really a rich man's formation. In just half a day, 30,000 jade seeds, which was equivalent to 3 million dark north coins, were gone just like that. Just a little bit more. Ling Han thought to himself. He began to charge towards 12 meridians. He had sensed it. He guided the last bit of power to attack. Boom, 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 like floodwaters crashing onto the shore. Very quickly, the blocked meridians were opened, completing the first circulation. At this point, all 12 meridians had been unlocked. This was the pinnacle of meridian opening tier. Brother, a voice suddenly rang out in Ling Han's mind. This was Brother Monkey. Ling Han was shocked. Brother Monkey had escaped? Don't be nervous. This is something that old sun left in your head long ago. It will only be triggered when you reach 12 meridians. Brother Monkey's voice sounded again. So that was how it was. Ling Han nodded. What did Brother Monkey want to say to him that he had to do this? Previously, your cultivation level was too low, so it was meaningless to say anything. Thus, Old Sun stayed until this moment. Brother Monkey continued. In the ordinary sense, the peak stage of the meridian opening tier is indeed the 12 meridians. However, if you want to pursue the pinnacle level, then you've only walked half the path of the meridian opening tier. Aside from the 12 true meridians, there are also 8 extraordinary meridians in the human body. Extraordinary 8 meridians, also known as the hidden meridians. The difficulty of sensing them is 10 times more than the true meridians. Thus, there are pitifully few who can open the extraordinary meridians. However, in order to reach the peak of cultivation, you have to do what others can't. Brother, don't covet advancement. Although meridian opening tier is insignificant, it's the foundation of a tall building. If the foundation isn't strong enough, there's no need to mention anything else. Remember! Remember! Ling Han listened quietly, but after committing it to memory, the monkey's voice no longer rang out. He mumbled. Brother Monkey didn't say at the time, probably because he was afraid of hurting me. Brother Monkey doesn't know that my willpower is tenacious. My goal was actually to break through to the pinnacle of every cultivation level. To be like everyone else means the person is destined to disappear within the masses. Therefore, to really be outstanding, relying on one's meridians being wider as compared to others is not sufficient. I still need to open up more meridians. Then if I can open up an extraordinary meridian, would it be comparable to the blood transformation tear? It'll probably be very difficult. After all, that is the gap between major tears, but I'm sure that after opening up 4 to 5 meridians, my strength should not be inferior to that of the blood transformation tear. Alright, I'll work hard to earn money, and then set up another rich man's formation. The jade seeds had already been exhausted, and Ling Han stood up. He had initially thought that he would be able to break through to blood transformation tier, but unexpectedly he had only cultivated halfway through meridian opening tier. If he wanted to quickly increase his cultivation level, he would need to use the rich man's formation, or natural treasures such as the volcanic fruit. However, how could natural treasures be obtained just because he wanted them? Thus, it was naturally the former that was more practical. Ling Han began to concoct alchemical pills with all his might. Every single alchemical pill was a cornerstone for him to increase his strength. With one more alchemical pill, the cornerstone would be slightly more stable. He had tremendous pressure and motivation to earn money, so he began to attempt concocting 2 cauldrons worth of alchemical pills at once. Nothing was impossible. If he didn't try, how could there be a miracle? Moreover, this was only the lowest grade of alchemical pill, so there shouldn't be any problem. At this moment, Ling Han's meticulous control over his spiritual power finally revealed its might. He was able to multitask and take care of everything completely. Then could he concoct 3 cauldrons at the same time? With the motivation to earn money, Ling Han became even more fervent. 3 cauldrons, yes he could. Then 4 cauldrons. 4 cauldrons could work too. 5 cauldrons. 5 cauldrons had failed. Ling Han shook his head. Right now, his limit was to multitask with 4 cauldrons. He couldn't divert any more attention. Otherwise, he would only ruin the entire situation. So be it if it was 4 cauldrons. At least, his efficiency had increased by 3 times. After 7 days, Ling Han had concocted a total of close to 900 meridian exploration pills. Even he found this a little hard to believe. This was really too crazy. And when Mo Guohao received these alchemical pills, he almost knelt on the ground. Even the reincarnation of the god of medicine would only be like this, right? Here, take my knees. I'm kneeling firmly. He already didn't know what else to say. Was this still an elementary level alchemist? No, even grandmasters would probably be dumbfounded and sigh in inferiority, if it was merely in terms of the concoction of meridian exploration pills. This young man was going to become the legendary god of alchemy. With so many meridian exploration pills, it is impossible to auction them off all at once. That way, it would not be able to get such a high price. After calming down, Mo Guohao returned to his true nature as a businessman. Ling Han nodded. You can slowly auction it off, but I need an advance payment. How much? Mo Guohao asked. Maybe 10 million, Ling Han said. Mo Guohao gritted his teeth. Ling Han was really not treating him with reserve. However, a meridian exploration pill was worth more than 20,000, and Ling Han could obtain at least 20,000. With close to 900 meridian exploration pills being produced, it was actually not too much for Ling Han to ask for an advance of 10 million. All right. He nodded. Actually, he did not have that much liquid funds, and needed to borrow some, but with his present reputation and status, what private bank would reject him? Mo Guohao was efficient in doing business, and in just 2 days he had transferred all 10 million Dark North coins into Ling Han's account. Ling Han was extremely pleased. He could splurge for 3 more times. He bought another 90,000 jade seeds and practically gave the boss a fright. This guy was too rich and willful, wasn't he? When the jade seeds had been delivered, Ling Han activated the 1,000 Clouds formation again. There were too many elites in the Dark North nation. Merely having the title of formation master and alchemist was not enough. Only true strength was what one could truly rely on. Boom, the rich man's formation was activated, and a large amount of mystical power surged out once more, surging towards Ling Han. Come, come, come. Ling Han channeled the brother monkey cultivation technique, stimulating this power to circulate within his body. The 12 true meridians were rapidly widening, and in just half a day, he had reached the pinnacle, unable to go any further. Otherwise, his meridians would only be shattered. All right, I'll sense for the extraordinary 8 meridians. Ling Han thought for a moment, then ingested a meridian exploration pill. Though he was confident in himself, was something that could clearly decrease the difficulty level, why did he have to make things difficult for himself? Just as Brother Monkey had said, the extraordinary 8 meridians were too difficult to sense. Even with the help of the meridian exploration pill. And the meridian exploration pill should be more suitable for sensing the ordinary meridians. If one were to explore extraordinary meridians, its effectiveness might drop to 5% or even lower. Ling Han used his mental power, and similarly examined himself, looking for a breakthrough point. Huan Shui come! Chapter 3180 Extraordinary 8 Meridians. Chapter 3180 3180 Extraordinary 8 Meridians. 3180 Extraordinary 8 Meridians. Once the rich man's formation was activated, there was no way to stop, unless the energy was exhausted. At present, Ling Han was just looking for the meridian. He only needed a little bit of energy, and it would be a waste if he spent too much. There was no meridian for him to expand. Hence, it could not be wasted. The little handmaiden entered into the formation, and absorbed the majestic energy. Her cultivation level instantly soared. The energy that she needed did not have to be too pure. From this aspect, the speed of her cultivation was enough to be 10 times faster than Ling Han. However, the efficiency of the Xianhuang technique was far from being comparable to the brother monkey cultivation technique. Thus, if Ling Han were to cultivate under normal conditions, it would actually be Ling Han that would be advancing slightly faster. Ling Han ignored her and focused completely on himself, exploring the first of the extraordinary 8 meridians. After about an hour, his body suddenly trembled, and he opened his mouth, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Young master, what's wrong? Huan Shui hurriedly went to help him. The formation had stopped channeling half an hour ago, and the jade seeds had been completely expended. I'm fine, Ling Han said with a smile, an expression of wild joy on his face. He found the first extraordinary meridian, but because the formation had stopped, he couldn't extract any power from it, so he couldn't open it. Ling Han placed the jade seeds in their proper positions, and began again. Boom, the surging power came again. Ling Han guided this power, and opened up the first extraordinary meridian. Then, he expanded it again and again, and his cultivation level increased extremely quickly. Another half-day passed, and Ling Han finally stopped. The first extraordinary meridian had already been expanded to the extreme. He did not use the last batch of jade seeds, because he first had to sense the second extraordinary meridian, which he would use the morning's cultivation time to open, and then use the rich man's formation to expand it to the extreme. Unfortunately, Ling Han didn't sense the second extraordinary meridian on the morning of the second day, which made him slightly disappointed. He turned on the optical computer and started to search on the online platform. He couldn't find any information about the extraordinary 8 meridians. Finally, he issued a bounty, and only then did someone answer. The extraordinary 8 meridians are known as the hidden meridians. It's said that it also belongs to the meridian opening tier. In other words, the maximum limit for the meridian opening tier is 20 meridians, but for a long time, I've never heard of anyone unblocking an extraordinary meridian. It's just a legend. It's still a rumor. The extraordinary 8 meridians are the Du Meridian, Ren Meridian, Chom Meridian, Dan Meridian, Yanwei Meridian, Yinwei Meridian, Yinqi Meridian, and Yangqi Meridian. However, only their names are known, and it's hard to confirm whether they are real or fake. Though there was very little information, It was at least the only introduction to the extraordinary 8 meridians that Ling Han had obtained. Thus, he readily approved of this answer and paid. In any case, it was not expensive, just 1 yuan. Unfortunately, Brother Monkey didn't say anything else, causing me to only be able to grope around blindly. Thankfully, I only have to continue sensing my meridians. Another day later, Ling Han finally sensed the second hidden meridian. He used the mystical power that came with dawn to open it, and then used the rich man's formation to expand it to its limit. One is on my back, one is on my abdomen, like one yin and one yang. Vaguely, my 12 meridians have also converged with them, and there is some kind of connection. My meridians are clear. I feel like there seems to be a great dragon hidden in my body, possessing the power to overturn rivers and seas. Oh, that's right. I should go and test out my current strength. He ran to the camp of the Xianqing banner. Because it was night, and he kept a very low profile, only the guards knew that he had come, and did not alert anyone else. He arrived at the training ground and found a strength tester. Pun! He shot out a punch, and as a result, it was a tragedy. This strength tester had actually been smashed by him forcefully, producing a loud sound. Fuck! Ling Han hurriedly broke into a run, because he had already heard the commotion. A great many people were rushing over. He ran out, and after a while, 3 people came out of the training ground, discussing animatedly. How strange! Who would be so bored to actually dismantle the strength tester? It couldn't have been damaged by someone, right? How could that be? That's enough to withstand the power of the peak stage of the 12 meridians. When have you seen any captains destroy the strength tester during any demonstrations? But who would deliberately destroy the strength tester? Freak, right? A psycho. Retard. The 3 of them came to a conclusion, and thought that this person must be mentally abnormal. Fuck. Ling Han immediately dashed out from the shadows. Captain Ling! When the 3 people saw Ling Han, their faces were filled with pleasant surprise and incomparable admiration. In the end, they were violently thrashed by Ling Han, and screamed in pain. However, after Ling Han stopped, he tossed each of them a meridian exploration pill, which could be considered as medical compensation. Hiss, what's wrong with Captain Ling? Why did he beat us up without rhyme or reason? Did he have his heart broken or something? This is meridian exploration pill. Fuck, that's 5,000 per pill. We've made a profit this time. If being beaten up can be traded for a meridian exploration pill, I'm willing to be trampled on every day. Captain Ling is too awesome. The 3 of them were confused at first, but soon became excited. If they knew that this was the modified meridian exploration pill, they would definitely be even more pleasantly surprised. Aren't you on leave? Why have you come here? A cold voice rang out from behind Ling Han. Ling Han turned around, only to see Lien Xuerong standing behind him. He smiled and said, Banner Lord, I came to test my strength. You broke through to 11 meridians? Lien Xuerong asked, surprise flashing across her pretty face. It had only been less than a month, and this brat had already advanced from 10 meridians to 11 meridians. This was truly amazing. And now it's the peak stage of the 12 meridians, Ling Han said. Lien Xuerong's expression instantly froze. 12 meridians? Was that possible? It had not even been a month. Do you think it will be like when you have just begun cultivating? Then with the spirit-gathering formation, one can indeed achieve the miracle of breaking through to 2 consecutive levels in a single month. All right. Attack me with all your might. She recovered. Sure. Ling Han waved his fist, using Lien Xuerong as a strength tester. He wanted to see how far he was from the blood transformation tier after opening 2 extraordinary meridians. Lien Xuerong almost couldn't stop herself from kicking him. This brat's gaze was really too despicable. Come, she said coldly. She made up her mind to return Ling Han's punch with a palm strike to teach this brat a lesson. Ling Han gathered all his power, and then shot out a punch. This punch was extraordinarily fast. The power of the punch compressed the air, emitting sonic booms. As the force was released, it actually turned into a fist that was visible to the naked eye, that shot towards Lian Xuerong. This was because the speed of the punch was too fast, reaching or even surpassing the transmission of sound, so that the power of the punch became visible to the naked eye. Lian Xuerong instantly looked shocked. It should be known that even a 12 Meridians peak stage martial artist could not possibly make the speed of his fist reach the speed of sound. This was an ability that could only be possessed by a blood transformation tier elite. Thus, when she saw the momentum of Ling Han's punch, she was naturally stunned. If she didn't know that this guy was Ling Han, she would really think that it was a blood transformation tier elite making a move. Pun! The punch arrived. Chapter 3181 Blood Changing 5 Transformations. Chapter 3181 Blood Changing 5 Transformations. 3181 Blood Changing 5 Transformations. Lian Xuerong lightly sent out a palm strike, blocking this punch from Ling Han. Their fist and palm didn't truly come into contact. Instead, they were separated by at least 6 meters, and a fierce collision of power had already taken place. The dust on the ground was sent flying, turning into a mushroom cloud. Ling Han felt a powerful power rebound back at him, causing him to involuntarily retreat continuously. On the other hand, Lian Xuerong was standing firmly. Sigh, this was still inferior to blood transformation tier. Are you trying to defy the heavens? Lian Xuerong couldn't help but exclaim. Am I? Ling Han shook his head and said, I'm considerably inferior to you. Lian Xuerong was speechless for a moment. Brat, could it be that you want to defeat me with the cultivation level of Meridian opening tier? She shook her head. Do you know what cultivation level I am at? Blood transformation tier, Ling Han said. This wasn't a secret. I am indeed a blood transformation tier cultivator, but blood transformation tier is the same as Meridian opening tier. It is similarly divided into several minor levels of cultivation level. Lian Xuerong said seriously. Blood transformation tier, as the name goes, one has to transform all the blood in one's body. Ordinary blood is red, so after the first change, the blood turns purple. In a fierce battle, one can make the blood boil, and for a short period of time, burst out with twice, or even 3 times his usual power. In the second transformation, the purple blood turns black, and the blood is so strong that it solidifies and forms pillars. This is called the condensed blood pillar. In the third change, the black blood turns silver, and blood can condense into the appearance of a fierce beast from the ancient age. It would soar out, and could kill with its aura alone. This is called the condensed blood beast. In the fourth transformation, the silver blood turns gold, and blood can be condensed into a weapon, and the murderous aura becomes even stronger. In the fifth transformation, golden blood turns into crystalline color, and blood condenses into a human form that has endless uses. Lian Xuerong spoke of the 5 levels of the blood transformation tier, paused, and said, I am now in the third transformation, condensed blood beast. As she spoke, silver-colored blood rose from her body, turning into a 3-legged bird, endless viciousness surging out from it. Even with Ling Han's temperament, he still faltered. This 3-legged bird made him feel a strong pressure. Even if it was just staring at him like that, it was enough to greatly reduce his strength. Condensed blood beast, this was a suppression of cultivation level. I'm already standing at the 3rd level of the blood transformation tier, and you actually want to fight me to a tie. Should I say that your courage is commendable, or should I say that you're stupid? Lian Xuerong shook her head. Ling Han chuckled upon seeing this. The gulf between them was far too great. Then how far is the gap between me and the 1st level of the blood transformation tier? He asked. Lian Xuerong pondered for a moment, then said, In the 1st level of the blood transformation tier, power tier starts from 100,000 kilograms, and your current power has definitely reached 100,000 kilograms. It is not the slightest bit inferior to a newly advanced blood transformation tier. In fact, it has even surpassed it. However, once you have advanced into the blood transformation tier, one would be able to boil his blood and burst out with 2 to 3 times the usual power. This is an advantage that you cannot hope to attain. Ling Han nodded. Even if he only had 100,000 kilograms of strength, if he could increase it by 2 to 3 times, reaching 200,000 kilograms or even 300,000 kilograms of strength, just how terrifying would that be? This wasn't the overlapping of power. Just like a 7 meridians, even if he could overlap 10 layers of power, would he be able to withstand a punch from a 10 meridians? This was the advantage in terms of cultivation level. In essence, this was a crushing advantage. However, boiling blood also has a time limit, no more than 10 minutes. Then, it would need at least 5 to 6 hours to calm down, and those who need longer may even need a day, depending on the individual. Lian Xuerong said. So if you can avoid these 10 minutes or so of a power burst, then it would not be difficult for you to match, or even defeat, a blood transformation tier. Ling Han nodded. Unless his power could be further increased, would he be able to withstand the explosive power of 200,000 kilograms or even 300,000 kilograms? He would only be crushed into dust. No one had made it a rule that if one defeated an enemy, they had to suppress them head-on. Using one's strengths and avoiding one's weaknesses was the way to go. How exactly do you cultivate? Lian Xuerong was curious. I know that a great many prodigies can break through the limit of 50,000 kilograms of strength at the peak of 12 meridians, but even Tuoba Tianhuang only seems to have about 75,000 kilograms of strength. Compared to you. She shook her head. This gap was really too obvious. Ling Han's expression became solemn. He really could not underestimate the people of this world. Tuoba Tianhuang could be called the strongest of the younger generation, and was even acclaimed as an extraordinary prodigy that would only appear once every 100 years. He was indeed very awesome. He chuckled. I don't know either. I'm just cultivating like usual. Regarding the matter of the extraordinary 8 meridians, he definitely couldn't tell anyone. Lian Xuerong didn't think about this either. She only thought that Ling Han was born with extraordinary talent, and the pressure-bearing ability of his meridians far surpassed that of ordinary people. He could allow power to surge out at a terrifying speed, and his explosive power was astonishing. This was something that others could not envy, no matter what. By the looks of it, you really might be able to get the first place in this martial arts competition, she said. Then, her expression became very strange. Previously, when Ling Han found out about the martial arts tournament, he had asked what the prize for the first place was. At the time, she had thought that Ling Han was dreaming, but now that she thought about it, could it be that this guy had long since known that his strength could improve so rapidly? Or was it that this guy was too shameless, and had soaring self-confidence? Go, fight for first place, and also make our Xianqing banner proud. The day after tomorrow, I will bring people to cheer you on. Lian Xuerong waved her hand. Ling Han hurriedly left. He was really afraid that Lian Xuerong would cancel his leave and make him return to the army from tomorrow onwards. After he left the base camp, he did not directly return to the city. Instead, he began to practice in a desolate neighborhood. He wanted to know his maximum battle prowess. The limit of power he could release was 9 meters. This didn't increase by much. Previously, it was already 6 meters. He didn't expect his power to increase so much, but the distance didn't increase by much. Additionally, in the case of overlapping layers of power, it was 15 layers. This was only under normal circumstances. If he channeled the brother monkey cultivation technique, he could attain 20 layers. Even if it's a blood transformation to a cultivator whose blood is boiling, as long as I avoid a head-on confrontation and deliver 20 layers of power, I don't believe that there is anyone I won't be able to defeat. Ling Han murmured. His battle prowess limit was equivalent to 20 blood transformation to first change cultivators attacking at the same time. Who at the same cultivation level could block that? He returned to his quarters, and began to anticipate what kind of rewards he would obtain in the martial arts tournament that would be held 2 days later. A day later, he received an invitation, which was sent out by the city lord's residence. As it turned out, the day after tomorrow was the 18th birthday of the young miss of the city lord residence. Since I've received an invitation, what kind of birthday gift should I prepare? Ling Han rubbed his chin. He couldn't go empty-handed, right? I'll take a look at pill recipes. What women care about the most is naturally looks, especially beautiful women. The lifespan of the people in this world is extremely short, so their appearances also age easily. In that case, the effects should be quite good if I give you an everlasting youth pill. Alright, let's go to the online platform and see if there are any pill recipes like this. Ling Han immediately did as he said. He opened the optical computer and began searching. Chapter 3182 Everlasting Youth Pill. Chapter 3182 Everlasting Youth Pill. 3182 Everlasting Youth Pill. Everlasting Youth Pill was the favorite of women, especially beautiful women. Who didn't want to preserve their most beautiful side forever? Ling Han soon saw the information about Everlasting Youth Pill on the trading platform. Of course, it wasn't a completed pill, but an incomplete recipe. In the last era of civilization, there was indeed something like the Everlasting Youth Pill. However, with the destruction of this civilization, the recipe for the Everlasting Youth Pill had also been destroyed, and had not been completely passed on to this day. On this pill recipe, there was only an introduction to the effects of Everlasting Youth Pill, as well as the color and smell of the completed pill, and the method of assessing its quality. As for the specific ingredients needed, a corner of the page was missing. There wasn't much missing. At most, there were 4 medicinal ingredients missing. However, no matter how the alchemists of the modern era studied it, they were still unable to complete it. Fuck, even the incomplete recipe has to be sold for 10,000 Dark North coins. Do you really think money comes from the wind? Ling Han looked at the transaction information, and couldn't help but grit his teeth. However, only one person had made the deal, so Ling Han could only accept it and bid on the pill recipe. What could be seen on this page was only the introduction to Everlasting Youth Pill's functions, and below it were a great many messages, most of which were left by females, begging some Grand Master to repair this pill recipe for the benefit of the world. After Ling Han paid, it wasn't long before the complete pill recipe appeared before him. He scanned the ingredients, then went to find out the specific uses of each ingredient. Then, he began to ponder. In the Genesis world, Everlasting Youth Pills also existed, so what Ling Han had to do was very simple. He had to make a comparison between the two, and from there, find what was on the missing corner of the page. After only half a day, Ling Han murmured, I have 3 options, but I don't know which one is the most correct. He immediately went to buy medicinal ingredients, then began to concoct alchemical pills. The Everlasting Youth Pill had very low requirements for formations, so it was very easily matched. Ling Han released his spiritual power and activated the formations. Then, his spiritual power transformed into a hand that threw one medicinal ingredient after another into the formations. Using his spiritual power to grab medicinal ingredients would further decrease the impurities. No matter what, his hands would eventually be stained with something, but in the Genesis world, Ling Han's strength was too strong, so his hands naturally wouldn't be touched by the slightest bit of dust, so it didn't matter. Thus, Ling Han was gradually developing the habit of using his spiritual power to grab medicinal ingredients now. This was only an elementary level alchemical pill, and was very easy to concoct. 2 hours later, Ling Han succeeded with a single attempt. Let's try the other 2 options. He also concocted the Everlasting Youth Pill that corresponded to the other 2 options, totaling 14 pills. He analyzed the 3 types of Everlasting Youth Pills one by one. With the Alchemy Emperor's strength, he immediately made a judgment. The Everlasting Youth Pill that he refined from the second method would have the best effects. The effects of the other 2 types are about 3 years, but this one is 5 years. Furthermore, it can also make one's skin glow. Ling Han nodded, and resolutely threw away the inferior goods. How could the Alchemy Emperor sell inferior goods? This should also be able to sell for a high price. I'll go find Mo Guohao and give him the pill recipe as well. I'll take a direct share of the profits, which will save me some energy. Otherwise, with more and more alchemical pills that I have to refine, how will I be able to spare the time to concoct this? It doesn't matter if I earn less. The fundamental purpose of my alchemy isn't for money, but to increase my strength and make preparations for Luan Xing and the others after they come out. Ling Han made a trip to Mercy Medicine Hall. It was really coincidental. He had just arrived at the entrance, when he saw Zhong Yangbi walk out from within. The other party also discovered him at the same time, and his eyes immediately became fierce, as if he wanted nothing more than to devour him. Ling Han! He forced out through gritted teeth. Ling Han acted as if he had not heard anything. He entered into the pharmacy, and directly went up to the second floor. And Mo Guohao had long since instructed the staff that Ling Han could come and go freely here. He was ostentatiously ignored. Zhong Yangbi clenched his fists, filled with fury. He really couldn't figure out why his master would be so polite to the deputy captain of Xianqing Banner. Wasn't it because that he was just a little better at fighting? But no matter how good he was at fighting, how could he compare to Tuoba Tianhuang? There's no way I'm going to swallow this, he thought. How could Ling Han possibly care? He went up to the second floor and entered Mo Guohao's study. Mo Guohao just happened to be drinking tea after going through his accounts. Young friend Ling, how come you have the time to come and play today? Mo Guohao asked smilingly. He knew that Ling Han was an alchemy mania. Otherwise, there was absolutely no way he could have concocted 900 Meridian exploration pills in a single week. He was practically like a maniac. Speaking of which, he still didn't understand how Ling Han had managed to concoct so many Meridian exploration pills. This was because even if he had a 100% success rate and concocted them 24 hours a day, there was still far from enough time. Ling Han took out a bottle of alchemical pills and placed it on the table. He said, "This is Everlasting Youth Pill." Pooh! The pitiful Mo Guohao had just taken a sip of tea, yet all of a sudden spluttered out, causing him to cough endlessly. Was this for real? Young friend, you are really going to defy the heavens! He hurriedly grabbed the pill bottle, opened it, and poured out a pill to carefully observe. Regarding Ling Han's natural talent in alchemy, aside from feeling rueful, he had nothing else to say. After a while, Mo Guohao revealed a shocked expression and said, "This is indeed Everlasting Youth Pill. It completely matches the description on the pill recipe. This smell, this color, and—" He pinched a bit, then nodded. "And this smell, after ingesting it, there is a kind of vitality factor. He was even more stunned. There is actually a sliver of whitening effect. This wasn't just the Everlasting Youth Pill, it was practically the whitening Everlasting Youth Pill. Young friend!" His face was filled with excitement. "The modifications to the Meridian Exploration Pill and the Mystical Power Pill benefits the nation and the people, enough to allow your name to be remembered for 100 lifetimes. However, the completion of the Everlasting Youth Pill can truly bring you mountains of gold and silver." "Oh, does the Everlasting Youth Pill have such great effects?" Ling Han asked with a smile. "This is not a question of whether one's abilities would improve or not, but rather a question of how much a woman would be willing to pay for this item." Mo Guohao was extremely rueful. Though the main force in this world for making money is men, the main force for spending money is women. And having one's youth last forever is every woman's dream. For the sake of your dream, how much are you willing to pay? He countered Ling Han's question. "To the point of bankruptcy," Ling Han said. He was speaking the truth. Just look, he had spent more than 10 million without batting an eyelid. Wasn't it all for the sake of speeding up his cultivation? "That's right," Mo Guohao said with a smile. "Thus, even if Everlasting Youth Pills are sold for 100,000 each, I guarantee that the supply will not be able to meet the demand. No matter how large the quantity, there is no need to worry about not being able to sell." Ling Han nodded and said, "I want to gift this pill recipe to you. In the future, I'll take 10% off the profit of every Everlasting Youth Pill that you sell." Hiss! Mo Guohao looked at Ling Han in shock. He had just analyzed with Ling Han how popular Everlasting Youth Pill would be, but in the next turn, Ling Han was willing to part with the pill recipe and only take 10% of the profits. A good person? No, this was so good that he had practically become an idiot. Chapter 3183 3183 Gifting Pill Recipes. Chapter 3183 3183 Gifting Pill Recipes. 3183 Gifting Pill Recipes. Young friend, are you really willing to give the pill recipe to me? Even with Mo Guohao's personality, he still couldn't control himself, his heart trembling madly. Ling Han was nonchalant. This kind of low-level alchemical pill could actually only earn some money from those at the lower ranks to satisfy his present cultivation needs. You see, if he really reached the blood transformation tier, or even a higher cultivation level, could money still buy the ingredients he needed? Impossible. When one had reached a certain height, it would definitely be an item exchange, a treasure exchange for another treasure. Not only the everlasting youth pill, but also the modified version of the mystical power pill and the Meridian exploration pill. The conditions are all the same, Ling Han said. And Mo Guohao was already numb with shock. No, he corrected his previous assessment of Ling Han. This was not a good person, nor was he an idiot, but rather, a saint. That's right, he was definitely a saint. He was filled with integrity. No, 10% is really too little. At least 50%. After Mo Guohao came back to his senses, he hurriedly said with a serious expression. He only had to obtain any one pill recipe, and he would have the confidence to become extremely wealthy. Gathering all 3 pill recipes, the seat that belonged to the richest man of the Dark North nation would be beckoning at him. You will be in charge of skill, cost, and manpower. I have only offered the pill recipe, so 10% is enough, Ling Han said with a smile. No, 40%, then 40%. And Mo Guohao insisted. If outsiders saw this, they would definitely call them 2 idiots. Wasn't it? There was actually someone who was willing to sacrifice their profits for nothing. What else could it be but an idiot? In the end, after much persuasion, Mo Guohao finally managed to convince Ling Han to accept the proposal of 30% share of the profits, which made him sigh in relief. It wasn't that he didn't want to earn money, but that Ling Han had too much room for development. In future, he would definitely become a big shot in alchemy. At that time, if word got out that he had taken advantage of Ling Han, then everyone would be able to drown him to death just by spitting at him. Being a merchant was naturally beneficial, but one's heart couldn't be black. Ling Han gave the 3 pill recipes to Mo Guohao, and told him to immediately advertise the everlasting youth pill. However, the actual sale date was set for next month. Although Mo Guohao didn't understand, in his heart, Ling Han had already leaped to the level of a god, so he naturally agreed. Regarding Ling Han, he was completely impressed. Even though he was a middle-level alchemist, and was superior to Ling Han, unknowingly, he had already placed himself in a lower position. For some people, prodigious talent overflowed, and could not be measured by age. Ling Han returned in satisfaction. Now, he didn't have to spend time on these 3 types of alchemical pills. Instead, he could study more profound pill recipes. Unfortunately, his spiritual power was still not up to standard, and he was unable to construct the middle-level formations. He was still unable to set up that killing formation. In fact, he was not even able to create a formation foundation. Huan Shui, how's your cultivation going? Ling Han called his little handmaiden over. She had also gotten some benefits from the rich man's formation previously. Young master, Huan Shui is now in 8 meridians, the little female attendant said excitedly. All right, try to reach 12 meridians as soon as possible. Ling Han nodded. Huan Shui will definitely work hard. The little female attendant clenched her fists tightly, filled with motivation. She had a wish, and that was to obtain powerful strength, so that she could be by Ling Han's side. Then, she would be able to stay by Ling Han's side for the rest of her life. Otherwise, she would always worry that she would be abandoned one day. The little handmaiden continued to cultivate with the spirit-gathering formation, while Ling Han sensed the 3rd extraordinary meridian. Every minute of cultivation time was precious. However, the more meridians that were opened, the more difficult it would be to take another step further. By midnight, Ling Han still did not succeed, so he could only give up and go to bed. Pun! Suddenly, a light sound woke Ling Han up. He raised his upper body, and his spiritual power surged. It had already surged into the courtyard, and clearly sensed the two figures. It was one of them who had shot out a punch, breaking through the psychedelic formation in the courtyard. Terrifying blood surged all over his body, and he could sense it very clearly. Being able to forcibly break through this psychedelic formation with brute force only meant one thing: this person was a blood transformation tier cultivator, and added with his boiling blood, there was no need to doubt it at all. These two people were masked in black robes, and held swords that shone brightly in their hands, exuding a sinister air. Assassins, Ling Han immediately thought. Previously, two had come, and in the end, one had been killed by the little female attendant, scaring the other away. He had not thought that so long had passed, and the latter would make a comeback. This time, an elite of the blood transformation tier had been mobilized. Head-on confrontation or retreat. Ling Han only had a single thought before deciding to face this attack head-on. Ping! He directly broke open the window, and stood in the courtyard. Blood surged. This was only the first cultivation level of a blood transformation tier elite, so he wasn't afraid of a battle. If it was a condensed blood pillar or even condensed blood beast, he would definitely run away immediately with his little female attendant. Such good senses, a black-robed man said. He chuckled coldly. However, in the end, you are only a Meridian opening tier elite. Old Sue, you stand guard. If the girl comes out, kill her, and I will deal with this brat. All right. The other black-robed man nodded. Their mission was very simple, and that was to kill Ling Han. As for Huan Shui, as long as it did not affect them, they would not kill her. That was because they would be collecting money if they killed someone. How could they kill someone for nothing if they were not going to be paid for it? Ling Han smiled calmly. Who sent you? You're already close to death, so what's the point of asking so many questions? The assassin in black looked at Ling Han balefully. All right, if you must know, my name is Zhang San. I'm Li Si, the other man in black said with a chuckle. Ling Han shook his head and said, I'll inscribe these two names on your tombstones. Die. Zhang San charged over, his sword sweeping out like a rainbow. Ling Han clenched his hand into a fist and punched out. Pun! With the release of his power, Ling Han was unafraid of the sharpness of his weapon. With a loud bang, Ling Han's figure retreated, but Zhang San also took a few steps back, his boiling blood wavering. What? Li Si saw this, and couldn't help but look shocked. Ling Han was clearly only a Meridian opening tier elite, so how could he rival a blood transformation tier elite? Though they were not the best of the blood transformation tier elites, there were only a total of 7 blood transformation tier assassins from hell. Under the suppression of a major cultivation level, in terms of power, Ling Han only had a slight disadvantage? Hiss! Zhang San was also stunned. Fuck, he had been screwed over by the intelligence again. Previously it was said that Ling Han only possessed 10 meridians. In the end, the organization sent out 2 silver plate assassins with 12 meridians, yet they were killed and defeated by a woman. They only managed to escape after using a rare treasure. Now, they sent out 2 elites of first change blood transformation tier, and in the end, a man ran out, and his strength was unbelievable. Could it be that the assassination mission was just a foil, and the purpose was to screw over their hell organization? Again! Zhang San made a comeback, his sword soaring into the sky. After exchanging a blow, Ling Han was already confident. He laughed loudly, and charged towards Zhang San. Pun! 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 The two of them exchanged blows. Though Ling Han's power was slightly inferior, it wasn't by much. They exchanged blows. Li Si was completely speechless. This was too ridiculous. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.